What up, my freaks? RuinusInsight here with part 30 of my Total War Warhammer 3 modded Thorgrim Grudgebearer Old World campaign. Never thought this campaign would make it to episode 30, or maybe not quite the case, but it's rare nowadays for campaigns to go that high. Usually the upper limit for them, and Thorgrim had a lot of super long episodes, so pretty impressive. And we're still going relatively strong, I'd like to say. Have certainly reached Archaon's level in terms of pure time, which is pretty darn impressive for the Dowie. Anyway, as we saw last time, we had the debut battle of Joseph Bugman's caravan army, which was pretty darn neat. I've never done anything like that before in terms of army formations, and it was pretty cool, and it's certainly something to think about for future campaigns, future armies, in terms of trying to think up new sort of types of formations and stuff to play around with, in terms of just increasing the themes and all of that. Anyway, we'll give that some thought as we go. In terms of what we got to do this time around, we are just about done wiping Vlad out, and we'll continue to push northward through Draika's territory. Got to sort of fix the Empire's problems. We're still probably a few turns away before we start transferring territories, mostly because I just want most of the territories to upgrade to tier 3 before we trade them to the Imperials. Just because of that, once again, provinces with low control will screw them over. How do you still have 8 provinces with low control? What are you doing, Wissenland? Ah, man. I don't even understand how they have 8 provinces, much less 8 provinces with low control. I guess, it's probably, this counts as a province. I think they had 1 settlement somewhere. Oh, they don't anymore? I think this was a Wissenland settlement. Might have been. Well, either way, we are looking to fix their stuff for them. I guess this counts as -17. What the heck? Military presence -5. Oh, it's because of the vampire counts rebels. Yeah, and this is exactly what I was talking about. I'm just gonna hope that this doesn't, and doesn't fall. Anyway, let's actually get to doing Dowie stuff rather than worrying about the Umgi and their falling realms. We stopped, I believe, at Belagar, unless I'm mistaken. So Belagar, you're up. And that's why we stopped at Belagar. You should have actually auto-resolved this, and I'm gonna quick save this and not forget it this time. I can't believe that giant survived last episode. I am somewhat mildly salty about it. Auto-resolve. That hurt us more than the battle did, but that's par for the course in terms of the auto-resolve in the game, I guess. Ooh, another Talisman of Preservation. Still not going to say no to any of those. We are also on the verge of being able to attack the Elves, and we do also want to wipe out the Khornates, and I don't like the fact that they're kind of staying in our territory, or at least near us. I wonder if we'll want to push towards the Khornates first before going after the Elgi, but we'll see. Ungrim, you are going to move northward together with King Azrael. We still have to link up the mountain realms and wipe out the various things here, and plus get the sort of pseudo endgame scenario of the Silver Pinnacle. The problem is this: we'll need to push an army up this way, and somebody will need to take out Griffin Wood. You know, maybe since we've already defeated Draika with Azrael, we'll send Ungrim to wipe out Griffinwood while Azrael moves this way. Maybe that'll be the better way to do it. Alrighty, so get to moving there. Like so. And ooh, Holtiran, we have a new full stack here. That's a lot of Malevolent Dryads with bows, but we probably shouldn't be too scared of them. I'm pretty sure that we can handle them just fine. Alaric Ranulfson, you're still taking the undefended Tzeentch territories, so go here. Now that Thorik has mostly cleared those out. Brock Ironpick, yes. Karak Bufdar, and are we ready to attack these guys? I think it's the next turn, so I think we'll wait for 1 turn and then start attacking the Ironclaw Orcs. And speaking of the Ironclaw Orcs, we currently have the vote for the next campaign up and running, and we'll probably close the vote soon, so top 2 will take it. Currently it's between Greenskins, Empire, and Dark Elves, so do make your voices heard, vote, etc. And shortly we'll be putting up the vote for the next Lord out of either whoever wins in the community tab, though. I really want to play Gorbat. I'll think about it. We'll see what we do. I do kind of like the idea of invading the Empire as Greenskins. Anyway, Guardian doesn't need to move. Other Guardian doesn't need to move. Morgus Drenger does not need to move because he's waiting for the Armored Slayer army. And you're actually not supposed to lead this army, are you? Yeah, we're gonna have to swap out a different higher level Rune Lord, but that's okay, we were always expecting that. Morek Grimtide's son. Ah yes, the Grimtide army. So this army was built with the idea that we get a bunch of, well, basically just an all melee all the time army. Ironbreakers, Longbeards, Giant Slayers, Hammerers, and Longbeards with great weapons, and we'll pop in some Thanes and see how the Grimtide does. Now the question is, where do we send the Grimtide army? Now we do have to deal with... Wait, I want to see something. We could send them through the Underway. It's not a very long way. Oh, we could actually send them to Berkvar as well. That might help out with the Iron Claw works. We also might need help against Mr. Imric. The main issue there is that now that Joseph of Zorn has peeled away to deal with these idiots that decided to declare war on him, we'll need another army here. But once again, there are a lot of territories currently being held by the Iron Clawworks. Though on the other hand, at least the Iron Clawworks are at war with a bunch of other factions. Yeah, the main issue is that we don't know where they'll pop up. Well, either way, you know what? I think we'll send you down here for now. I actually don't know how to use these. Left click to instantly travel to this region, eh? Oh, you know what? Maybe the Grimtide army would work nicely against the Coronate army. A little bit of melee on melee action, see whose melee is superior. I think I like that even more. Alrighty, fine. Let's do here. Hey, it does work. Somebody said that it was broken in Old World, but apparently the Underway network works just fine. Oh, we gotta unlock the rest of the Underway network then. Beautiful. Exciting times. Anyway, you're gonna sit in Karaz-a-Karak for the turn. You actually need to get some Thanes. We have no Tromac Thanes. I guess we could get Forbearing Thanes as well, just to get them tankier, but it's not like it does really anything for us. And oh, you're gonna need a Runesmith. Do we have Runesmith capabilities here? I'm surprised we don't have one in Karak. We should have one here, though. Unhinged, Karaki, Zaki. Let's do Karaki, I guess. Alright, let's do you, and then... we'll summon a Forbearing Thane for now. Maybe, you know what, summon both of these Thanes. We could always replace them with other Thanes as needed. I still think that we should keep using Tromac Thanes, but, you know, it's kind of late in the campaign to try to be finding additional heroes with additional traits, as it takes a long time to, you know, trait fish, if that's the way you want to call it. Anyway, let's see who else needs to move. Mournguard doesn't need to... actually, wait, you... okay, yeah, this Mournguard doesn't need to move. Cadrin Redbeard has moved, but is actually an army, or will be soon an army once we get what he needs to get. Story Azrael. Ah, yes. You are going to have your debut battle. This is sort of just a mixed ranged army. We got a couple Hellblaster volley guns, a couple of organ guns, and then Bugman's Rangers, Quarrelers, and Grudge Rakers together with a bunch of stuff. Should be pretty fun. I'm going to fight the, whatever you're called, the Ghosts of Glan Boreal, or Ghost of Glan Boreal. You're currently allied with Pestilence and Clan Scryer, and I assume we're at war with both of them. Yes, we are. Just had to double check, though. Not that it would have mattered if, even if we weren't. Salignac La Rouge is not defended. Okay, or it doesn't have a garrison building. So, time for your debut, sir. Declare war. Call your allies to help, don't bother. This faction will be dead in 1 battle? 2 battles? Depending on how much territory they have. Alright, close battle. But casualties low, but it's a debut battle for this army. They've no veterancy and little in the way of upgrades. Let's see how they do. Oh yeah, there we go. Now we got organ guns together with those Hellblaster volley guns, and well, we're just gonna have to wait and see which one is going to be superior. Kind of interested in the little contest between these two high-tier artillery pieces. There we go. Just love watching and listening to these guys fire. There we go. All right, that's enough of that. Fun though it was. Anyway, here we go. Debut battle for this all-ranged army, more or less. We got the Grudge Rakers, we got the Bugmans, and we got the Quarrelers, plus the various types of artillery pieces, competing for who gets the most kills and the most damage. I know that this isn't sort of an ideal army composition for the organ guns, but I guess it'll give a little bit of a leg up to the Hellblasters. And I assume that these guys are also getting, yeah, they're getting a range buff as well. So while they won't be getting red line buffs, they do have that, and all 4 artillery pieces fire upon the enemy of Vampire, who gets obliterated rather quickly, and are now switching to fire upon whatever it is that they can. The Bugman's Rangers and the Quarrelers will presumably start firing as well fairly soon, and as the enemy draws closer soon, the Grudge Rakers will begin their work as well. Probably got them, yeah, we got the ballistics calibration up, so we got a little bit more range on top of all that as well. Alright, and at this amount of range, those Graveguard and whatever else have got a long way to go. A lot of distance to cover, and as usual for our range armies, I fully expect that the enemy's center line will collapse before reaching us, and it'll be the flanks that decide the battle. Well, actually, they've got a fair few units moving up on this side as well, so maybe they will be able to achieve something. Oh, it looks like a pile of doggos, or 2 piles of doggos, formerly 2 piles of doggos, and decided to move up on our flanks. They are in that weird column formation. At least I see that happens to the AI as much as it happens to the player, but that unit is waiting, or was waiting, for the bats to go in and for the rest of the army to move on in, and that just doesn't fly. Alrighty, looks like we got a unit of Crypt Ghouls, which was of course invisible up till now. That has moved on in. I wonder if we would have been able to see them earlier if we had the engineer on a gyrocopter floating overhead. I guess we'll find out in the future. Oh, that reminds me, we also need a... Do we have 2 engineers in this army? Oh yes, we do. Okay. I just have to double check. Alright, well, the enemy's still having a pretty darn difficult time reaching us. Oh, love seeing all those Bretonnian castles in the distance as well. And nice to see guns working together with the crossbows. Tradition and innovation together, there we go. Not much to say tactically because the enemy's having a pretty difficult time actually reaching us with their main line at least, but it looks like at least the bats will reach us. The enemy had a lot of bats in this particular army. We've destroyed like 3 or 4 units and still plenty of them were able to move on. And fortunately we do have entrenchment on our units, and while I'm sure they'll bring down a few of the Hellblaster crews, we can buff them up as needed, especially with the Rune of Oath and Steel, and then move some of the Quarrelers into melee down the rather fragile bats. And entrenchment, of course, if it is needed. It does look like while the enemy's center has failed to reach us, the enemy's flanking maneuvers will have paid off as the Grudge Rakers start facing off against the enemy Graveguard with great weapons. Much as I'd love to be playing as the Vampire Counts and using those Graveguard myself, just gonna have to watch them get obliterated by our range units. Looks like with the enemy center out of the picture, we are able to sort of reposition our own center units and fire into the flanks of the enemy as they attempt to fight us. Over on the very left flank, however, the Thunderers are having a little bit of a worse time. We do have entrenchment on them, but they're down by about 40% of their HP, holding off the biggest blob of enemies that the AI has brought. Probably not a big enough blob to be of great concern to us, but certainly a great enough concern to this one unit of Grudge Rakers. Alright, and of course the liquid fortification on the Bugmans will probably keep them healthy enough that it is fairly unlikely that they take a little bit of damage, or at least as much damage as the Grudge Rakers do. I'm going to help him out a little bit. Rune of Wrath and Ruin coming down into the biggest blob of enemies. I believe the enemy's second lord about to be obliterated by the fire from the organ guns and the Hellblaster volley guns, like so. And said enemy lord was no more able to reach us than the vampire or the necromancer was earlier. And there we go. With his fall, it looks like the enemy are beginning their chain route. The undead begin melting away, and it is only a matter of time to clean them up. All right. And this faction's rather weakened, considering Sylvania is just about done for. Well, then I guess it makes sense that this little mini Vampire Count faction is just about done for as well. No, I guess Kemmler is just about done for as well. I think... Huh. Other than the Silver Pinnacle, we've effectively destroyed all the Vampire Counts, at least the major factions that are in our part of the world. Manfred is hanging around in the Southlands, of course, but, you know, we'll probably never bother going down to deal with him, assuming that he's, you know, hasn't been defeated by Khemri and all that. In theory, the Tomb Kings should get stronger and stronger the later the game goes, more so perhaps than other AIs, as they'll get capacities for their constructs and elite units rather than just gigantic piles of free skeleton warriors and stuff. Though the AI is fairly decent at using those to great annoyance. Similar to the Skaven that we saw in the beginning of this campaign, although I don't think the Hekarans would appreciate the comparison. Anyway, a nice little debut for this army, and, well, let's check out how those volley guns did. Alright, there we go. Let's see how that went. Oh, looks like the Hellblasters actually fairly significantly outdamaged the organ guns. That's pretty darn interesting, especially considering the organ guns have various buffs from our tech tree, and the Hellblasters do not have any buffs from our tech tree, as they... They got more damage as gold value, and more damage as kills, and more damage as straight up damage as well. Very interesting. I'll be interested to continue testing them out as we go. I guess one issue for this particular battle for the organ guns, though, is the organ guns are really good at, you know, taking out cavalry, taking out things like monstrous infantry and stuff, and the enemy didn't have any of that here, whereas the Hellblasters are a jack-of-all-trades type of weapon, which is good at pretty much doing anything and everything. So perhaps unsurprising that it did better here. Still, impressive. At least having those Umgi allies will pay off in that regard. And, you know, solving all their problems for them. Anyway, other tricks are shard for story, Azrael. You don't need that on a gun army, although we do need to actually give you items at some point. Probably not right now, since you're not actually going to be fighting anything until you reach the Skaven, most likely. Well, I suppose we'll fight the Vampire Coast as well, but in a bit. Anyway, we are probably not going to hold on to Salignac La Rouge, but we can upgrade it and transfer it to somebody else. Decent likelihood we get into it with the Wood Elves as well. We'll have to figure out who we want to give this to. I mean, Bretonia should, in theory, be restored to the Bretonians, although, I mean, this is in shambles. Gotta keep giving money to Luan. Maybe he can recover some of this. At least I don't think Castle Kuhan will fall, because, I mean, he got 2 Grail Knights and 2 Pegasus Knights, and it's a lot of strength tied up there. There's 1 Grail Knight, 1 Quest Knight. Dude, build better armies, please. It's, I mean, it's okay. Ooh, Royal Pegasus Knights in this one. Oh, he's tacked up to Royal Pegasus Knights, huh? Huh. If we get enough... Oh, this has a cooldown? Oh, I didn't even know that it had a cooldown. Huh, go figure. I think we can lower the cooldown via various grudges, can't we? Unlocks landmark, unlocks... Huh, yes, there we go. Tower or underway cooldown by 3 turns, although this is the Umgi of Chaos. Okay, that's probably going to take a bit. Or if it's even... and a bit of trading with Boris Ursus. We'll see. We have been holding a lot of territory that we intend to give to him, so that's kind of still possible. Anyway, Morngard doesn't need to move. I already checked you, I believe. Ulfar Norgrimling, yes. Ooh, hello. Do we have a battle for you, sir? Yes, we do. All right, explosions time. This should be fun. Let's level you up and let's get to exploding. Now, let's see. You have Fire and Fury and Grimnir's Heirs, which I guess is the only thing that you need in this army. Blessed by Grugni don't need it, and Morgrim's Favor don't need it. You're just straight up exploding things. Alright, I guess we should move through towards Forge Fire. So let's get 1 Rune of Slowness and then into Forge Fire. I guess Obstinacy would have been another good option, but I'm sure we'll be fine. A Rune Smith? We should probably... Well, I guess we could go for... Oh, Sharpen Weapons. I was gonna say Strike the Runes will be 1 point away, and that's fine. We'll go for Strike the Runes. Thane. An actual Traumac Thane. Let's get you We Are the Elite. Nobody will be able to make use of it yet, but eventually. And then lastly, Engineer. Oh, we have a need of another Engineer in this army, don't we? Not even for the missile damage, because this is an explosion army, but rather for the additional ammunition via requisition that they'll need. Speaking of, grab requisition, sir. And, I mean, we should get We Are the Elite next. It'll be a while until these guys level up, but we have bonuses to troop veterancy, experience gain, etc, etc, etc. Anyway, Grey Hag Retreat. Let's see what we got here. Grey Hag Retreat, Valiant Defeat. That's about 2 stacks, and we got some good stuff. We'll see how we fare against the Giants and the Trolls with the Explosion Army, which is intended for sort of blobs of enemies. It looks like a fun time. Go. Alrighty, here we go. Vengeance indeed. Let's see how well we can deliver it with just massive piles of explosions. The Norgrimlings Ironbreakers looking pretty darn great here. I like that red of their armor as well. It does make them look a little bit Chaos Dwarfen, I admit, but I don't know. It gives them a little bit more menace, and I do appreciate that. Not that the blue color scheme and sort of steel color scheme of the regular Ironbreakers, or Gromrel rather, looks bad, but I really like the Norgrimlings. Anyway, we'll see how well they do and how well this army does in general. This is a box type army, so we are going to box up with our Ironbreakers around our Dwarf Engineers and those Nangao Grenadiers, and we'll see how well those explosions do. It doesn't look like the enemy's going to try to charge toward us, but they will get a nice gaze of Mork going through our lines. It's not a threat to our Dwarfen units, but it is very much a threat to our Cathayan auxiliaries with only 10% spell resistance as compared to the 50% on those Ironbreakers. I thought it would be more. I'm pretty sure we can bump that up in one way or another. Anyway, we've also got the Veneration of Smednir in this army, you gotta remember, so all of the explosions dealt by this army are magical damage-dealing explosions, so I'm willing to bet that the droves of enemy infantry are going to have a pretty bad time here. There we go. First wave exploding many a gobbo. Pretty cool slow-mo shot there, you gotta admit, and that is just the beginning. Alrighty, let's see how close the enemy can actually make it towards our explosion box. And there's a unit of Black Orcs out here. Let's see how the Engineers do at clearing them out. We got, I think, armor-piercing explosive damage on the Engineers, so they still should be able to do a fair bit with each volley. Obviously, the Black Orcs are going to be able to take a few more hits than those little piles of gobbos, but perhaps not nearly as much. Not nearly as much as they'd like, is what I mean to say. Anyway, the Black Orcs are down to about 30% of their HP and shaken at a still fairly long distance away from the box. Ooh, I love seeing all those explosions come down upon the enemy. Very different feel than from the Engineers rather than the Trollhammer Torps, just because it is an explosive type of damage rather than the anti-single unit torpedoes. But a pretty solid choice in terms of unit against the droves of greenskins in particular. Rather than taking out a single unit with a Trollhammer torpedo, one of these torpedoes, well, I don't know how much splash damage that is, but it looks like a fair bit. Alright, the enemy's center line is as per usual against a... Well, I wouldn't even say this is a ranged army, really. It's actually a short-ranged army and is fairly close to a melee army, because there's as many Ironbreakers as there are everything else. It's not like we have any artillery or anything long range. The biggest range we have is 138 on the Dwarf Engineers, which really isn't a lot. In fact, it's less than the 155 of the Orc Arrow Boys. Of course, if the Arrow Boys continue trying to fire away at the Ironbreakers, it's going to take them a long time to do anything. Though, let's see. Yeah, they got 8 armor-piercing weapon damage, so they are slowly but surely dishing some decent damage out. Ooh, looks like a unit of Squiggies is going to charge us now. over on the right flank, and it looks like enough units have survived or have used the cover of the kills to move towards us to be able to charge us on the right flank. And Iron Breakers, come on guys, they didn't even try chucking their blasting charges, like 2 or 3 of them did, but I guess these squigs moved too fast, and go figure. I felt like they could have at least tried. Alrighty, well, that's okay. The squiggies are moving away now, but we got plenty of units milling around on this side. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, counting the Black Orc Big Boss. 11, 12. Damn. That's more than a half stack all on that one flank. Well, good for the enemy. We've also got giants moving in the center now, and some snotling pump wagons attempting to charge us. Finally, 7 enemies actually get close enough to us to deal with both of our grenadiers and our units of iron breakers, and the enemies melt away under all those beautiful explosions. Oh, that's just fantastic. Oh, those poor gobos. That was so much overkill, but oh well. Anyway, Giant is moving in, but the Giant will be by and large completely immune to us. It does look like a lot of explosions, but look, the Giant's only taken maybe 15% in damage so far, despite all of that focus on it. So the Giants will be able to close the distance, and at the same time as the Giants have moved in, we got plenty more enemies over on the right flank. We're gonna debuff them with the Heaven's Flash and the Flash Bomb. Nice combination. Massive reduction in enemy stats, and the Iron Breakers, of course, will continue to hold, while the Grenadiers continue lobbing their grenades over their heads. Beautiful. Alrighty, and how are the Giants doing in the meantime? The first one is in pretty bad shape, but by and large defeated by the Rune Lord in combination with the units of Iron Breakers axing the Giant. And by the looks of it, it will be brought down. Still, it took a fair bit of effort, as our explosive damage isn't particularly effective against the Giants, generally speaking. There we go. It does look really cool when they get brought down, though. Love it. Alrighty, and there's the second Giant, still at about half HP, surrounded by Norgrimling's Ironbreakers and, of course, our Rune Lord, but it looks like he's going to shatter. Enemy archers, they wish rangers, are still shooting at us. But it looks like on every single side where the enemy has moved in, they have failed to breach the explosion box, and all they had to show for their attempt was a bunch of blasting charges, grenades, and, I don't know, explosive torpedoes to the face. Still, they are bravely attempting to continue to charge us, and they are just as bravely exploding into tiny little pieces. Alrighty. Man, we're so late in the campaign and we're still trying out new army compositions. It's just great. There's so much you can do with the Dwarfs. It's absolutely fantastic. Especially now that we have the outpost mechanics. All right. And we still have a fair few army compositions I want to try out. The artillery army, the mechanist army is still on the way. Ooh, that one should be done very soon. Yeah, anyway, with that, the enemy army breaks, having failed to deal with their explosions. I love it. I can't wait to see more from this army. Ooh, wonder who we will be sending against them. It would be ideal to send them against, like, Skaven or something that has a lot of units where we can see the explosions really go to work. We'll have to figure that out after we're done with these orcs anyway. Alrighty, very, very nice. Looks like the explosion box strategy here worked out fairly nicely. Norgrimling's Ironbreakers finally got to play. We got a massive amount of 100,000 damage and 900 kills on this unit of Dwarf Engineers, and 728 and 84,000 on these guys. But we saw them try to focus down those giants and do effectively no damage whatsoever. And that's one of the fun things about the themed armies. They will have things that they are very, very good against, and then things that they aren't very good against, which keeps it fun and interesting for them, as opposed to having a sort of jack-of-all-trades options. Would this army be much stronger with a couple of flame cannons? Of course. Would this army be much better at dealing down with giants if we could put a couple of troll hammer torpedoes in? Yes, again, but then A, it would be off theme, and then B, there wouldn't be all that rock, paper, scissorsing going on, which wouldn't be as fun. Anyway, Rampager standard, I guess we could put it on one of the... Oh, you should actually have a banner of swiftness, gotta remember to give you one. Put that on the other runesmith for now. Actually, you know, put it on the Thane. Runesmith can have a ranger standard. Alrighty, and the rest of that looks good to me. So, occupy the place, not that we... Oh, I forgot to quick save before it, but it looks like we didn't crash. Good. Alrighty, and we are looking pretty okay. I think you will not go on the gyro... Well, it will allow you to actually fire upon enemies. I'll think about it. Again, all the flying units... Wait, do all flying units get the spotter ability or no? Apparently not. I'll think about it. Might just put him back on the ground. Anyway, this faction is looking pretty weak now, I'm willing to bet, after all of that. And while they might have another army running around, they did wipe out the faction that was here, the House of Baal. It was a very, very long sort of... I'm not confusing it with another faction, am I? No, okay, no. There was a deadlock between the House of Baal and the... whatever this greenskin faction is called, the Grey Hag, but it looks like we're okay now. Anyway, that was Ulfar Norgrimling and his Norgrimling's Ironbreakers and just generally explosions. Where else were we, or who else needs to move? Nobody needs to move. All right. Well, that means we can skip building upgrade available. No, I think we did that already. Hero not moved. Oh, wait, actually. Newly acquired territory. We should immediately upgrade the dwarf hold here. And then build defenses here. Grey Hag retreat, we probably don't need that. We'll go for salt and a mine. And this is Darklands territory, so this is all fortified at the edges of our empire. So, yeah, alright. Now we're okay. We could actually collect the income here. Yeah, it'll go to max control anyway, so it doesn't really matter whether we collect it or we don't collect. Here and on moved, it's fine. Outpost available with whom? Rota of the Dawn, alright, they lost their main territory to Archie. And we do still have close to 1 million gold. We should probably give a little bit more to, I don't know, I'm gonna say the Empire. I think I think I already gave some of it to these guys this turn, so let's just give them like 40,000 gold more. There you go. We'll give them more next turn, or I'll do it between the episodes, because I don't want to be over-clicking like that. Anyway, end turn. Oh, would you look at that? The Thoric's little strategy of sitting there and baiting Kairos into attack because he has the reinforcements of Gulgas Bloodheim and did actually pay off. I'm really glad to see it. We should enjoy this quite a bit. Kairos is at rank 20, so he'll have access to a lot of spells. And ooh, it looks like the AI went for character skills this time. So unlike what our AI, our Dwarfen AI, did to Belagar, which completely wasted all of his skills, it looks like they actually got all the right skills for Kairos. Interesting. Alright, well, we'll see how his magics do against our 70% spell resistance. Though, that's probably reduced by his presence and stuff as well. But anyway, go. Alrighty, here we go. Oh wow, that's a lot of glowing on that hammer. Dude must be blind in one eye from having that just out at the periphery of his vision at all times. Anyway, here we go. Kairos is going to attempt where where Archaon has failed to bring down the traditionalist army of Thoric Ironbrow. As to whether he can accomplish much, well, I guess we're going to have to wait and see. As usual, the battle begins with our artillery bombardment into as many of the enemies as possible. The monstrous impact and the shrapnel of those grudge throwers banishing many a demon, as the fragile blue and pink horrors are going to have a difficult time standing up to that. We do have the Hellforged Bellowers, which were reforged. The Hellforged Reforged Hellforged Bellowers from the previous battle, but they only have a little bit of HP on them. Ooh, a couple of direct hits from those heat-seeking, demon-seeking, just seeking projectiles, and the Hellforged Bellowers are banished once more. We do have an Iridescent Horror, and we do also have Kairos around there. Kairos is going to launch a... Looked like blue fires for a second. Wait, Kairos says he took Shem's Burning Gaze instead of blue fires? What the heck? AI, no. What are you doing? Why would you take Shem's instead of blue fire? Well, it did do a little bit of damage to Thorek. There is that, but it doesn't feel right. Oh, wow. Huh, I'm actually surprised it did that much damage to Thorek. He has 110% spell resistance. What's your spell intensity at? Wait, it's only 100. Huh. I feel like he shouldn't have hurt Thorek nearly that much then. That's interesting. Because he's maxed out in terms of spell resistance, so that was, you're telling me that was 25% of the damage of the spell, effectively, at 100% intensity? So you're telling me that would have taken half of Thorek's HP with one hit? Doesn't seem right. And also, Thorek, how much armor do you have? 205 armor as well. Huh, interesting. Well, either way, that might have happened if we didn't have the spell resistance that we do, but we do, and so there's not much the enemy can do about it. Also, similar to the other single entities that have been sniped by the Goblobber in previous times, Kairos is going to be the target of it this time around. And we've essentially relegated the Goblobber to the sniper of this particular army, as it goes after single entities in every battle now, which is kind of amusing. And, well, I mean, it's not like we'd be using the Grudge Settler units for that, because they have the shrapnel projectiles. Anyway, down goes Kairos, having achieved basically nothing in this particular fight. Enemy still has a long way to travel towards us, especially with our flank protected by the rock here. They're not going to be able to get around us over on the right flank. All of our Corlers fire away at the enemy with a long range and ballistics calibration, not on you, but in the center units, giving them up to 272 range. Good lord. Oh, right, we also have the Rune of Seeking. For the 300 seconds since the start of the battle, Thor gives them Rune of Seeking, which, my lord, those are some very long-range Corlers. Basically, what this does is it makes Thorek into an overseer, an engineer, a guildmaster overseer, equivalent type lord for the 300 seconds since the start of the battle, which is pretty neat, you gotta admit. And I'm sure the Urki Eye Pokers and the other units of Corlers are pretty happy about it. Anyway, just jumping around with the camera, because the enemy is looking like they're going to have no chance to be able to reach the Corler spam. But this is pretty par for the course. I mean, it's pretty usual for Thorek's army when you get it to its final strength, essentially. The last couple of times I played with Thorek, whether it be in Warhammer 3 or Warhammer 2, it was a fair rarity after the early game for enemies to actually be able to reach his army. Which is interesting considering Thorek is a pretty darn strong melee lord, so, well, he can certainly fight when he gets to. Anyway, bounce power's at about 85% in our favor now. Some Chaos Spawn are attempting to cross or ford the river here, and Thorek will allow his shield bearers to nearly drown. Now, water is up to their noses almost, while he floats dry up above. The whole concept of the anvils and the just shield bearers and the Thorgrim's throne and whatnot is just so entertaining when it's a water and stuff. And of course, when it comes to running fast, and ooh, it looks like an enemy unit of Furies has arrived and will actually touch down upon some Corlers. Perhaps I spoke too soon about them not being able to reach us. Enemy War Shrine is brought down, together with the mutants that were carrying it, and it looks like some of the enemy Chaos Knights high rank is probably the unit of Chaos Knights that Kairos started with at the very start of the campaign, and has never lost a battle, I guess. Well, good job, Kairos. Or at the very least never lost these knights when he lost the battle. Either way, the knights charge on in, and we slow them down with a Master Rune of Slowness and a Flash Bomb all at the same time, bringing their speed down to a mere 7. And did they just Warp Flame themselves? Okay. I guess they were trying to hit something else, but they Warp Flame themselves too, lowering their armor to a mere 62. And I do believe as soon as the Chaos Knights have realized that they can do no more and very, very slowly started to walk out of there. There we go. With that, the Flash Bomb is up and their speed returns to normal. And with that, the battle is ours, Kairos having achieved a little more than Mr. Archaon did. We're trying to do our best to chase those knights down. Thorek isn't quite as fast as Mr. Thorgrim is. In fact, he's nowhere near as fast Thorgrim. But he's still fast enough. He does have Strider, so while these guys are slowed down... bonk. So while these guys... that's another bonk. Beautiful. While these guys are slowed down in the trees and by the monstrous impact, down to 13 speed. Still pretty darn good. I'm getting a few more bonks from Mr. Thorek. I don't know, there's just something about that animation that I find very amusing. It's just that there's no, like, big lead-up to the bonk from Thorek. It's almost like, I don't know, it's like a whack-a-mole game sort of thing. It's just like bonk and the guy goes down. Anyway, close victory for us. Fun little fight. Alright, there we go. That went no better for Kairos than it did for Archaon, and I noticed that his most elite units all survived. Kairos and his Exalted Flamer and the Blazing Squealers there. I'm willing to bet if the Chaos Knights were a demonic unit, would have survived as well. How dare you? AI, so rude. Anyway, we will... I mean, it doesn't really matter. We took no damage, so... Well, I guess Thorek took a few hits, but anyway. That was, I think, from one of Kairos' blue fires. Yeah, 2.3k. That was that. Take the money. Doesn't matter. Ah, good. It looks like the guys that were in Morgheim will sally out and attack our Axe Storm army. Good. Been a couple of episodes since we saw them fight, so we should see them fight again. Now, we got a Rune of Dismay here. I guess for now we'll put it on the sort of leading unit, the Ulthar's Raiders, and that'll be a little bit of extra slowdown for the enemy. Plus, we got Frostbite on the Master Engies now, and that Chilling Aura, so it should take the enemy a little bit longer to reach us. Granted, they should still have a fairly wide sort of front line, which will probably mean they'll be able to get towards us, at least to some degree. Anyway, Axe Storm again, quick save, and then Axe Storm again, go. Alrighty, here we go. And, did we venerate Grimnir in this army? I don't remember. We might have. We venerated somebody, right? Wait, no. Can you venerate Grimnir? You can venerate Morgrim and somebody else with the engineers. Oh, wait, it's Grugny, most likely. That would make more sense. Anyway, here we go. Our Axe army is pretty much all at rank 7 and above now, so they're even stronger than they were before, and those axes will hit all that much harder. The enemy does have a Goblin Rocklobber with them, but I don't imagine that it's going to be doing too much damage. Especially if we bring it down with our Grudge Throwers with... well, Grudge Settler, Grudge Throwers from a distance. Enemy is also blobbed up here, so it's going to take a long time getting to us with all of these units due to that slowdown from the monstrous impact, plus the shrapnel damage from those two units. Man, those Grudge Settler, Grudge Throwers are insanely strong. I mean, it's kind of, just think about, like, compared to units like the Grudge Settler Quarrelers, the Grudge Settler Longbeards, both of which are decent units, don't get me wrong, but the disparity in quality is kind of insane, in the sense that I feel like the game should probably award you 2 Longbeards and 2 Slayers, or 4 Slayers, Grudge Settler Slayers, maybe 3, I don't know, at least 2 Grudge Settler Slayers, at least 2 Longbeards, at least 2 Quarrelers, as compared to the Grudge Settler Gyrocopters, which are absolutely insane, as compared to the Grudge Settler Grudge Throwers, again, which are absolutely insane, and the Grudge Settler Iron Drakes. I don't remember if I'm forgetting anything, but some of those units are worth like several units, and others are just barely worth more than the sort of regular variant of the same unit, you know? A disparity in their quality is what I'm getting at, and it would be nice to be able to fill up more armies with the sort of other Grudge Settler units. Anyway, I'm going to speed this up a little bit. The enemy's going to be approaching for a long time, but I think we've seen bombardment from Grudge Throwers many a time throughout the course of this campaign, so we're just going to let the enemy go and get closer. Of course, we only do have 2 of them, damaging as they are. They're not going to keep everything back, and the enemy will be able to close the distance, or at least some of them will. But of course, oh man, they're having a really bad time here. The terrain completely screwed the enemy over because they're getting essentially funneled into this choke point where it's the ideal time for the Grudge Settlers or Grudge Settler Grudge Throwers to hit them. And who knows, maybe in the next battle for the Axe Storm army, I might just not even let the Grudge Settler Grudge Throwers fire at anything but enemy range units, and just let all the enemy melee units approach. Speaking of melee units, you're not a melee unit, get back to the line. I think I ordered them to attack something like here, and then they decided to reposition themselves, but that's alright. And hey, the first of our axes are finally flying, and hey, if it isn't finally the opportunity to actually hew some goblins. Since the goblin heroes have a tendency to hew everything but goblins, especially the large units that they're sort of specialized against. Anyway, here we go. Looks like some of the enemy boar boys have decided to charge us, but the axes fly first from the artillery and then from the axe-throwing rangers. And it looks like they're having a pretty darn difficult time getting to us. Slowed down to 36 speed as they get close, which is pretty darn solid. They get slower and slower as they approach because we have Frostbite on the Master Engineers, and they now have that chilling aura as well. So as soon as they get really, really close, the enemy slows to a crawl. The axes keep on flying. Can't even really see, our units can't see what they're chucking those axes at, but they can probably hear the sheer number of greenskins out there and probably know that, well, they're probably not gonna miss. Beautiful. All right, this army certainly had some growing pains since it started. Had a few fairly difficult battles in the sort of early portions of the campaign. It was one of our earliest armies, after all, our 3rd army on the map. And it did struggle while we got the techs, while we got the buffs, while we got the veterancy and red line skills and all that, but it's certainly come into its own and become a pretty darn devastating army, well, on its own. Alright, and those enemy units that have reached us so far have failed to, well, actually reach us. They have only reached the range of the axes. And frankly, that's probably not where you want to be anyway. What's our range at on the axes, by the way? 128, not too bad. Slightly increased by the Prospector Spyglass, and then we can increase it further if we pop off a ballistics calibration as well. Not by much, but every little bit counts when you're fairly short-ranged like this. Anyway, another unit of Savage Orc Biggins attempts to charge us, but similarly, those axes prove too much. And that's with them resisting 40% of that damage. And they keep on attempting to approach and keep on failing to do so. Here comes another unit of Savage Orc Biggins just into the range of the axes now. And let's see that volley. Guess should be in range now, am I wrong? Guess they're waiting a little bit. There we go. And those are Goblin Hero Axes. No, those are not Goblin Hero Axes because we don't have Maim applied to these guys. Those are just Ranger Axes. Alright, and that unit is out of the picture as well. Got another one trying desperately to reach our line on the right flank. Of course, the enemy center line has completely failed to do so, but we've been seeing that a lot through the course of this particular episode. And ooh, we got more goblins to hew. Always a nice thing to see, and there we go. That's a big old pile of axes. Maim and Frostbite, slowing these guys down to 12 speed, and it would be even slower as they got closer due to that chilling aura. That's working really well. The chilling aura and frostbite on the engineers make a pretty huge difference. Granted, they can only fire at one unit and the chilling aura is relatively small. Frankly, this army could have probably used the third engineer to make it even stronger. But at the same time, it's not like we're struggling, at least against this army. Going to be interesting since they're near Kugat to see how they fare against the Nurglights, however. Especially once again with the no magical damage. Granted, the Nurglights are slow, but they also have those buzzing plague drones and other such things. Anyway, once again, the enemy fails to weather the Axe Storm. Alrighty, there we go. All that Savage Orc physical resistance, not enough to deal with the ludicrous amount of axes going their way. And of course, our 2 units of Grudge Thrower, Grudge Settler, Grudge Throwers also did pretty darn well, as they always do, by slowing the blobs of enemies. Though admittedly, the terrain did screw the enemy AI, or the enemy just generally, in this particular fight. Ooh, 143 Oath Gold. I think we'll take that rather than heal, though. That ain't too bad. And I'm gonna put the overzealous speed, I guess, on either the Thane or the Runesmith, mostly because the Dragonslayer is more likely to take damage and then, you know, lose it, because it's overzealous if it's over 50% HP. Anyway, execute and loot. Alright, we're down to 185 factions on the map, starting to get a little bit more manageable. Thorak, even more missile or spell resistance, and even more spell resistance when fighting against the Tzeentchans, which is lovely. Now, having knocked out... So, Karas is still around. I want to retake Zamoski for these guys to allow them to recover, especially if we can give them some of this territory. That would be great, because I think the provinces with low control is making it difficult for the western provinces to hold too many, even with us plying them with hundreds of thousands of gold. Speaking of, we're up to nearly 800,000 gold per turn. Very nice. Master Mason, mission successful. Oh, lots of missions successful. Good. That'll be a few more units that we might want. Rangers, Quiver, other Trickster Shards, Stonemason, Dwarf Bride, Stonemason, Rune Bearer, Trickster Cult discovered. How dare you? How dare you? Oh, wow, what the heck? This is a high-level Trickster's Cult. Oh, I guess we took this from the Vamps. Alright, obviously burn this down. I wonder if I can actually find and attack the Changeling. Anyway, Rangers standard for somebody. Brewmaster. Okay. That's enough of the little ancillaries. Busher discovered. House of Ball destroyed. Oh wow, I was just talking about you. Replace Fireslay is back. But the Fireslay has already been replaced. Melee attack for all Slayers. Good. Another Trickster's... Huh. Is it mirrored to show that twice? Did I screw that up and there was actually another cult somewhere? Oh, if there is, it's too late now. Anyway, let's see. Tech Thief. Okay, I don't know why I decided to move the Tech Thief first. Actually, I do know why, because we want to wipe out Worden and then get rid of Mr. Vladdy for good. This will be his last stand. And we're not gonna fight it because that's a waste of time, let's face it. Decisive victory, low casualties even on this little army. Oh! This army, oh, you gotta be kidding me, you don't have Siege Attacker. Alright, so I guess we'll have to wait, huh? Alright, fair enough. Time for a reckoning. Joseph Bugman does have Siege Attacker here, and I guess we could temporarily move in. Transfer a... Alright, fine, let's do this. You're gonna go here. I was gonna send you to Needling, but I guess we can do that other, just next turn. You're gonna go here. You're gonna swap one war wagon for one whatever. It doesn't really matter. One war wagon for one, I don't know, Thunder with Drake Gun. Alright, then you are going to attack now that you have siege attacker. A bit of a silly dynamic in that regard, but what can you do? And I just want to make sure that Vladi is gone for good. It's hard to keep a good vamp down, but, you know, I think this will be his last, unless the Vissenlanders allow him to revive. Alright, there we go. Undeath Descendant, Scarecrow Banner, Dwarfen Tattoo is Gyro Capture, Faction Destroyed at last, Sylvania, and give us back our War Wagon. Slash Bugman. What? Why did that kill your movement? Oh, because the War Wagon's movement range was killed. Yeah, alright, fine. I guess I should have just encamped Bugman instead, but whatever, too late. So, I was gonna send you here to zip while Bugman goes this way, and then we'll send the other army to either occupy these or find whatever cults are there. A little bit weird that somebody might come out of zip, but go to Needling, because we saw there was an army here before, and I don't want to risk another one being there. Ooh, we're nearing to the point that we crossed the river where the piles of enemy chaos factions are, so we gotta be careful. Obviously, we're sending Bugman's caravan now, huh? And we'll probably need a few more, because that one army probably wouldn't be able to handle it all. And hey, if it isn't Tultiran Bitterbark now... I was going to send... I wonder if he'll probably run. I do wonder whether Ungra would still be able to reach him. Probably not, eh? I honestly prefer Ungrim to fight this, just because, you know, he's closer, but... or he hasn't fought these guys yet, but whatever. You go to Nagenhof. You're still recruiting, and that's just fine. Oh, that reminds me, I wanted to recruit another Grail Knight unit. Okay, you can quick save this. We'll distribute the runes later, it doesn't really matter right now. Like so, occupy. And don't collect the income here. Immediately 1,000. A late game Dwarven economy. Anyway, what I wanted to double check whether we could get another Grail Knight from our Bretonnian friends here. I don't remember which... Do you have Grail Knights? Huh, you don't even... Oh, actually you do, 52. Yeah, alright. And I take it that we don't have enough allegiance with Kuhan. What? Oh, our outpost with them is probably a low enough level, too low a level to make good use of that, eh? Alright, fine, fair enough. Let's take a few missions. Ratmek and Ublug or Wurzag. Oh, right, we're about to kill Wurzag. Get Thorgrim that defeat trait. Where's Kuhan? Outpost. Oh, it's still under construction. Alright, fair enough. Thorgrim, I guess we're starting with you again. I started to do things out of order yet again. Alright, so, ooh, hello. Clan, oh, that's Clan Treacherik. I thought because of the red banner that it might have been Clan Moors, but alas, it was not. Alright, fair enough. Anyway, you are going to break the siege now. We were saving Mr. Wurzag for Thorgrim, rather, not Thorek, and possibly for, well, Thorgrim to move up here. We're allowed to resolve this. I presume that with all of this, nobody's gonna get killed. It's always a risky proposition, though. You never know with the auto-resolve, and... yeah, we still took damage, but not so much that we care. Occupy. Stinking geysers are now ours. Now we got charge bonus on Thorgrim. Ally mission successful. Another Rampager Standard and Trickster's Helm. Now... I guess since Thorgrim's probably going to be too busy to wipe out these rats, we'll probably send you this way, but only after we have you take out Ekrund. You can, for now, I think, move in march stance towards Ekrund, so move this way. And Dragonhorn Mines, tiny little army there. I think I'll just do this with the... with the Grudge Settler army between the episodes. Actually, speaking of the Grudge Settlers army, funnily enough, in late game, and super late game, it feels like that Nolan Grom, the final level of the Age of Reckoning, is actually vastly inferior to Elgi. Elgi superiority, I guess. So I'm gonna get a grudging for that one, but oh, look at that. A 100% increase Oath Gold from all buildings, and right now, Oath Gold is the thing we need more than anything. We don't care about regular gold, and growth and construction time for all buildings are the other thing that we'd really, really want. But it would mean just not fighting, which I guess we can't do, so we're kind of stuck in trying to proceed to Nolengrom, even if Elgi seems to be the best one here. I just find that very amusing. But oh well, what can you do? Anyway, Joseph of Zorn. You're next, sir. And what the heck are you Black Arcs doing? Huh, I wonder if it would be faster to embark or go like this. It would be faster to move this way. Yeah, I'm not so sure that you save any movement range, but at least this way we don't lose movement range by embarking. Let's do this. And we saw there was a rat army out there, but it's gone now, and we have to wait until proper Dark Elven armies come on by. And sinking the Black Arcs out of, you know, the principle of the thing is a good thing. Even if they're gonna run. And I don't know whether we'll be able to catch them, but gotta get them the heck out of here. Might want to build a sort of temporary army here just to sort of hold ground, another Guardian army. Certainly something to consider, and yeah, it looks like you're just out of range. Alright, that's fine, whatever. I don't see them taking Bajorak's last stand with just the Black Arcs either way. Anyway, that was Joseph Zorn, Grimly. You have arrived at Helpit, where, Fabrigir has 1 mutant rat ogre and about 1 billion Skaven slaves. Actually, that seems about right for a Skaven army, and this is 9th Circle, which actually has vastly inferior defenses as compared to the 7th Circle, which is the capital building. We should have gone down there instead of into the center of the pit. But oh well, it is what it is. Anyway, do we want to fight this is the question. Close victory, medium casualties. It's not going to be a particularly difficult fight, but I just can't say no to fighting a big old horde of rats. It's too fun, so we're going to fight it. Let's watch them get absolutely obliterated by our units, though we don't actually have as much range firepower here as we have in armies that are specialized for it. We can see that the Quarrelers in this army are only at 55, 53 missile strength, which is inferior to that of others, but this is a sort of half army. We have the superpowered, all 4 named units of bolt throwers, plus of course the all-named grudge settler units of old beards. Longbeards, wow. My brain is fried today. Anyway, just go. Alrighty, here we go. Ooh, look at that Skaven corruption. Actually, it looks pretty darn neat here. The map isn't too dark, and therefore, I don't know, we still got that menacing green light, but we can still see everything, which is pretty neat. And I guess we can quite well see the artillery fire coming at us now. I do believe well, we don't have really any range bonuses, so the enemy does outrange us in terms of pure artillery fire. That said, the enemy's one and only mutant rat ogre was a little bit too close, and thus will get brought down before it can do anything. That said, we don't really have the massive units to bring down the enemy before they reach our lines, so I do fully expect we are in it for a melee fight when they do close the distance, which is nice, considering we've had a lot of range sort of focused battles in this particular episode so far. Now, the enemy will try to eat up our ammunition with their droves of Skaven slaves, which does make sense. We can't explode them like we can in a lot of our other armies, as we have the anti-single entity bolt throwers here. And frankly, the bolt throwers aren't all that great at targeting tiny little single entities like Grey Seers, as they tend to dodge them. Although, it looks like they did decently well at knocking out the enemy warlord, who has grown fairly low in HP and will at last get brought down. Oh, no, he'll get up again. Or no, wait. No, those are just the death shakes, or whatever those are called. I don't know what the actual term is, but anyway. Down he goes. And yeah, enemies definitely reaching us in melee this time around. Well, actually, did these guys just reach the Longbeards and decide to back off? While the Great Seers have seen us reach the line, let's run away now before the dwarfs can actually kill us. We've participated, let somebody else actually take the hits. Alrighty, and it's time for Longbeards to face up against first clan rats and Skaven slaves, and I do believe we got some storm vermin from the enemy garrison as well, so that should be pretty nice if we can't bring them down in range. Also nice to see the Longbeards with great weapons fighting. At this point, they're probably Probably the least used unit in this campaign so far. I mean, we've had them for a while, but they're in an army that does a lot of damage at range. And while they have fought, they haven't quite fought enough. And yes, we are getting a couple more of them in a couple newer armies. But we do tend to use the regular sword and board type Longbeards a little bit more than the great weapon variety. Mostly because I feel like the great weapon variety don't have enough melee attack to warrant their loss of their shield. I mean, they only have 46 melee attack at high ranks with tons of buffs. And I mean, these guys, King Lund Legion here are only at 51 compared to their 87 melee defense. Granted, the melee defense is dwarfenly appropriate and obviously buffed up massively by the Shrines of Grugni and stuff like that. But I still feel like they could use a little bit more melee attack with those great weapons of theirs. Alrighty, well, either way, the King Lund Legion and Grimly's Grumbling Guard, together with Grimly himself, have seen off the enemy in the center of the enemy army. It looks like the piles of clan rats have actually done some damage to this, to the long story shorts here. Although perhaps it would have been damage done to them by the enemy artillery pieces as well. In retrospect, perhaps I could have moved forward the entire army so that our own artillery would be able to knock down the enemy Plague Claw catapults, but at the same time, it is nice to occasionally let enemy artillery pieces fire back at you. Makes the battlefield a little bit more fair. Anyway, here come more clan rats and Skaven slaves to get hewn down by the, well, not the goblin hewers. There we go. But the Longbeards hew plenty well. Alright, did you guys really take 3 hits and not kill off that one clan rat that I was watching, or Skaven slave that I was watching? Come on, game. Don't make the quarrelers do all the work. Now we should get a couple of items to get these guys slightly higher melee attack. 48 should be sufficient to deal with clan rats and Skaven slaves, though. Those guys have pretty low melee defense stats. What's their weapon strength like? Oh, their weapon strength is only at 52. Okay. Probably take a fair bit of effort to bring down a single model at that amount. Anyway, the balance of power is at about 70% in our favor. There's still a big old pile of units running around. Over on this side, we are firing away at them with our artillery, though we are starting to run out of ammunition on some of our quarrelers now. And these guys are down to 10%, so, well, we'll just get a little bit more melee action. Which isn't a bad thing. Huh, what's that? I see a Chaos Gate in the background and some glowing monoliths or stones or whatever. Alrighty, and the rats just keep on coming, sort of hearkening back to the early portions of the campaign where our units were actually forced to fight in melee a lot more. I mean, granted, a few of our armies still very much do. And we'll be sending that all-melee army to fight Khorne a little bit, which should be pretty fun as well. See who does it better. And admittedly, Grimly's army also does have a tendency to fight in melee. So yeah, we've got melee and we got range, alike aplenty. Oh, and who could forget Ungrim and his Slayers, which don't have any range whatsoever. Anyway, okay, you guys turn to reposition yourselves just as the enemy charged on in, but well, really, what are they gonna do? You are not going to be too threatened by the Skaven slaves, at the very least. Still, very nice to see that the rats do keep coming and coming. When you're facing off against just hordes and piles of enemies like this, it does make it feel a lot more appropriate with our smaller numbers. Oh, and we got some actual Plague Monks that have moved on in. That's a nice little addition. Face off against Grimly's Grumbling Guard. And there's a decent likelihood that they'll at least dish out some damage to them. I'm down by about 20% of our HP so far, and very much still in the fight. We got some Storm Vermin working together with the Plague Monks now as well. Very nice. Alright, and this is probably where the enemy's elites are concentrated and where the battle will be decided. The occasional crossbow bolts still sailing over the heads of our longbeards. We got the same thing sort of repeating itself on the other portion of the line, but, well, I'm sure we'll be fine over there as Grimly has personally moved in to use stand your ground there, especially since we have our Runesmith and our Thane over on this side, though by the looks of it, they weren't really needed. We just gotta make sure that we send those storm vermin running and send the last of those plague monks into the dirt. And there we go with that. The last of the enemies break, the storm vermin shatter, and the battle is ours. Beautiful. Some solid meleeing that time around. I love it. Alrighty, no problem. It's gonna be interesting to see how... Huh? Damage dealt 0. What the heck are you talking about, damage dealt 0? Huh. I guess maybe these guys on the left flank never engaged with the enemy. On the right flank was where the bigger portion of the enemy army attacked, so I guess it does make sense, or at least I hope so. Anyway, the Asgaraz are the winners of the piles of the long beards, and as for the bolt throwers, it's the overcompensating corals this time. Finally, ooh, 61k. One of the unnamed units of coralers just managing to beat out the Caragrill bows there, but still pretty solid on both. Anyway, as I was starting to say, it'll be interesting to see how Grimly's army will fare once it runs into either Thrott's army or one of the main stacks of the Skaven here. I'm mostly oh right, Ninth Circle. This is so weird because it'll be... Do we even bother upgrading this? You know what, I think not, at least not right now. I assume that we can upgrade the 7th circle. Why is this like this? What was that? What was the idea behind this? Give a bunch of one settlement little territories to help it? Feels a little bit weird compared to Skaven Blight. But anyway, what was I saying? Yeah, once this army actually runs into a big old blob of enemies, how it'll do, this army runs out of ammunition really quickly at the current time because it's still... Okay, you know what, actually, let's bump up... Ooh, you know what, yeah, we're gonna bump up Requisition. I was gonna say we could go into We Are the Elite, but I think we actually need this more right now because, as I was saying, the army runs out of ammunition really, really quickly, and that's not so great against the various Skaven. We got an engineer with entrenched next. Now, it doesn't really matter what kind of engineer we put into your army as your last engineer. What does matter is that the entrenched one might actually be better in another army that could use it, like an army with, for example... Wait, do you have entrenched till far north, Grimling? No, you have Karazi, and the entrenched would help out the dwarf engineers in terms of increasing their range. Considering this army doesn't have artillery, that's probably the better way to do it. And it's probably the way that we will do it. Yes, anyway, folks, with that, I think we are pretty much out of time, and I think this is where I'm going to call the episode. Had 5 battles, which was pretty darn decent, and we got to try out our Explosion Army's debut battle, which was pretty darn fun, and I'm hoping that we get a couple more decent fights out of them. Oh, wow, that poor Thane. Why would the Thane get hurt so horrifically, whereas the Iron Breakers are fine? They would have advanced with the Thane. Game, please. Why are you like this? Anyway, yeah, I was thinking we still might replace some of the Nangao Grenadiers with Outriders, but it's not the most necessary. I do like the fact that they have Heaven's Flash, admittedly, which can be helpful. Not that it's super likely that anybody's gonna get through the Iron Breakers, but, you know, maybe. Anyway, gonna call it here. Next time we will probably wipe out or go through the Greyhag as much as we can, depending on how much of the turn we can actually end. We shall see. Still orcs to fight. Probably going to declare war on the Crimson Skull, probably on the elves as well, definitely on the Iron Claw orcs, as we still have to continue fighting. Then we have wiped out Sylvania now, but have to clean up Draika's territories and then move north into the orcified, chaosified, beastmanified territories north of the river, well, Talabek, I guess. River Reich and Talabek. Right downriver, Talbot upriver. Anyway, it doesn't really matter. more Adobe to come, so stay tuned. Don't forget to leave the likes and comments below, as they'll determine how long we will keep running the campaign for. All glory to the algorithm, and thanks for watching.